Ehorn, and then Suxie.
Doctor, let me get this straight. You got a board that lives here,
Yes, the majority.
but evidently they don't see this hospital as being as important to this community, or what?
You know, I've asked that question a lot of times. Not quite in those words, you know, I'm trying to make friends. But the answer is, I don't understand that the hospital is losing money and has to do something. It's interesting if you look at Lakeside. All of a sudden they started losing money too, right around the same time. But who tells the board they're losing money? Sutter executives. And they won't let you see the books to figure it out. So it's really impossible to prove that they're losing money. But that's, I think, if you ask the board, they're going to say, if we don't do critical access, the hospital will close because we're losing all this money. But then ask them, well, when's the last time you actually saw the books? I've been asking to meet with the accountant at the hospital for the last 6 months. I've been denied. We don't have a CFO, even though the Business and Professions Code says that each individual corporation has to have a CFO. And it was right when our CFO left, about 1.5 years ago, that all the red ink started coming in. So there's something, I mean, it just doesn't look right to me. But we need to have a CFO. Our CEO says we do have a CFO. He's down in San Francisco. His name is John Gates. He's the CFO for the region, the entity that we would be transferred into. I've never met him. I don't know that he's ever come to a board meeting, maybe once every 2 years. So if he's our CFO, he's in absentia.
It seems to me like, from listening to all this, you're putting a lot of emphasis on a lot of things. You need to be putting it on that board. These guys live here. I mean, they need to get enough heat on them to open up their eyes that these people are serious about what's going on.
Yeah, and in a minute, I want Kevin to speak a little bit about his experience with the board, because he was on the board for the 2 years before me, and he would call me after every board meeting and say, they're just doing things that they shouldn't be doing, and I can't stop them. And then I came on the board and the same thing happened. I mean, they've dismissed me from the boardroom, so we try. I don't know what else I can do to the board, but I certainly appreciate the comment. I think that would be extremely helpful if the local people would share their concerns with the board. Yes.
So if they close, does that mean we can have Asante come in?
It's a great question. We were joking about that after the meeting, and we were going to say, Mr. Cohill, if you close, would you mind leaving the key in the front door so we don't have to get a locksmith to reopen it? Because we'll take the hospital off your hands. Yes, in the back.
Have you just seen the movie Lincoln and watching the drama of collecting votes for the Emancipation Amendment? If I can just get down to a number, you've got 9 board members.
Yes.
What does it take to say goodbye to Sutter? Does it have to be unanimous majority, or is it 5-4?
I believe it's just a majority of the board.
We need 5 votes.
Right.
Who's most vulnerable?
Well, I don't want to say names because I want them to speak for themselves, but it's my impression that those who are most vulnerable are those that have businesses in our county, more so than retirees, and certainly those that don't work for Sutter Health or a Sutter Health affiliate. This is a huge problem. We've got 3 of the 9 votes in the hands of people that work for Sutter Health. And I don't get it. So you're allowed to transfer a corporation into your corporation without recusing. Exactly. I mean, the conflict of interest just screams from the pages to me. And I brought it up in the boardroom. And this is the other thing. I'm not up here because we didn't try, Kevin and I, countless times to sit down with the board and say, let's just fix this. Let's do what's right for the community. Let's have a discussion, maybe even see the financial statements for ourselves. And let's not make it public. I sat down with the board chair last March and said all of that. And here's the answer you'll get. The train left the station. What's done is done. This kind of thing. It's just, and those of you who don't know me that well, it's going to be maybe hard for you to perceive what is going on here, but until you sit in the boardroom, you can't believe it. I've been a friend of Kevin Caldwell's for 21 years, and he would call me after the board meetings for those 2 years and describe it to me. And to be honest with you, I didn't believe Kevin. It just didn't seem possible that local people could behave this way. But I can assure you they do. And I tried to get an observer in the room. I tried to get Dr. Larry Enninger, who is a very well respected and thoughtful person, just to sit in the boardroom and watch what happens. He's not going to say anything or write anything down. They wouldn't even let me have Dr. Enninger sit in the boardroom, much less a reporter. I made 2 requests for a reporter, and not to take notes, but a reporter just to observe what's happening. Because it gets very frustrating when board members go to the newspaper and say things that aren't true. When the former board member went to the newspaper and said the governing body of Sutter Coast Hospital is Sutter Health. He's the chairman of the board. He knows better. The governing body of Sutter Coast Hospital is the board of directors of Sutter Coast Hospital. Now, it took me and back to the, I appreciate your question because you're like, why don't you talk to the board? So this came up at the board meeting and I said, you know, it confuses people when they read in the newspaper that the governing body of our separate corporation is Sutter Health. And it must have taken me like 15 minutes of just trying to get him to say, you know, just say, okay, I made a mistake or whatever. The official minutes of that meeting say that I was cross-examining a board member. And you can't argue with them. They take the minutes and they do whatever they want with them. Now I have to issue what are called minority reports. So I have to have a written statement that I read into the record and I hand to the board. I mean, the whole thing is just ludicrous. But if any of you have any relationships or could contact any of those board members, just in a completely, you know, naive way, let's say, and just say, you know, could you maybe just look at Asante? I think it would be helpful. I hope. Yes? Yeah, Susan Bristow. Now, she has a vote. I want to make it very clear that she wasn't one of the board members who voted 3 times. So we had one regionalization vote last year when Kevin was on the board, and then we asked them to rescind twice, and she wasn't part of that process.
Can't she vote now?
Yes, she's a full voting member, you bet.
You vote the American flag and leave it.
Yes.
So with the board, at what point did they stop? I mean, obviously minutes are being taken. At what point did they stop getting financials? I mean, if for 20 years you've had this quasi agreement, you had to have had financials up to some point. At what point did it change?
Right, they get financials, but you don't know where the numbers come from. So you get these financial statements, but you don't have any idea how they're derived. So what I've asked for is to meet with the accountant so I could understand, you know, when a patient is billed or when money's come in, what column does it go in? How can I understand that process better? So you get numbers, but I spoke to an accountant who used to be on the board, who resigned from the board over another conflict with the board. Anyway, this same accountant told me, if all you're going to see are those summary statements, you don't have a chance. They can show anything they want to show. You have no idea what they're doing. So it's a great question, but the reports are not nearly detailed enough to understand the true picture. No. I mean, I can't meet with the accountant to even see where they're derived from. But you just can't tell. This is a company that's given me 30 statements that aren't true. So it's hard to believe a lot of times some of them. No, they use 3 different accounting methods, and you know, I'm not an accountant, so I can't tell you all the official titles for them, but if you're on the board and all you see is that, you really don't know what's happening. Yes?
Didn't Bernie Madoff go to jail?
Yeah. Well, we don't know they're cooking the books. We can't find out because we can't see the books. So, yeah, it surprises me that when, during a litigation, a subpoena is issued, you don't get what you subpoena. I mean, I was astounded by that, but I know for a fact that's the case because the judge asked a similar question to the one here that we just had from our right, and the healthcare district attorney said, you can't tell whether they're losing money because they won't hand over the books. And yeah, the frustration is equally felt.
Yeah.